Hello again, everyone. Here we are with our Unit 8, Lesson 2 video. We're still working with transformations. Now we're talking about some reflections. So these reflections can happen, the reflection itself is a negative symbol in the function. Now, the negative symbol can happen in one of two spots. It can happen out in front of the function itself, and this one is going to be a reflection over the x-axis. Those are going to be the ones that are more common this year because of the functions that we're working with. Now, that does not mean that we will not have any reflections over the y-axis, but it does mean that that's the one that we want to make sure that we really get a negative on the outside. That is a reflection over the x-axis. If on the inside of parentheses, now remember, when we say the inside of parentheses, we mean on the inside of parentheses, on the inside of absolute value bracket, on the inside of the square root symbol. Those are going to be reflections over the y-axis, okay? So if I had f of x equals negative absolute value of x, I took the absolute value of x and I reflected that over the x-axis. That's, I don't ever write those, over the x-axis. There we go, okay? If I take absolute value, if I take the square root of negative x, this takes the square root function and it reflects it over the y-axis, okay? Now, when we practice today, I want you guys to get used to the fact that transformations can be any type. You can have anything, you can have all of them, you can have none of them. So because of that, just because, we're doing reflections right now, maybe you have a reflection, maybe you don't. Maybe you have a shift, left, right. Maybe you have a shift up, down. Maybe you have all three of them, who knows? Okay, so if I take square root x squared and I change it to negative x squared, this is going to be a reflection over the x-axis. How did I know it was over the x-axis and not the y-axis? There's no parentheses, so it comes out in front of the function itself, okay? There's no other transformations in that one, so we are good to move on. In this next one, if I take the absolute value of x, it now becomes the negative absolute value of x plus 2. Well, I've got multiple transformations here. The first one happens right there. That is a reflection over the x-axis. Okay, I have another transformation over here though. That happens on the inside. Since it happens on the inside, it's going to be left, right, and it's going to go in the opposite direction, but it's going to be a shift of left 2. Remember from our lesson yesterday, on the inside of those absolute value brackets is going to be the opposite direction. So plus 2 means I shift left 2. If I take the square root of x, it now becomes the square root of x minus 4. I've only got the one transformation. That one transformation's right there. There's no reflections, no negatives on the outside, no negatives on the inside in front of x. So because of that, this is just going to be a shift. It's underneath that square root symbol, so that means it's going to be the opposite direction. This is going to be a shift of right 4, okay? Now, I love question 4. Question 4 has everything in it. If you look, I've got a negative on the outside. I've got a negative on the inside. I've got a positive on the outside. There's everything in this one. This is going to be a reflection over the x-axis. That minus 4 means it's the opposite direction, left and right. So this is going to be a shift of right 4. And that plus 1 means it's going to go in the same direction, That one's going to be a shift of up 1, okay? Now let's go the other way. Let's give you a bunch of transformations, and I want to know what the function is. Now, the order that I go in, okay, you know what, I'm going to give you the order after we do the next page, just because you're going to see the next page puts everything all together. So we're going to wait on that for a minute. Here's what we're going to handle first. I've got x squared, and I'm changing that to have a reflection over the x-axis, so that comes out in front. There's no left or right, so there's no parentheses. And up 2, so that goes in the same direction. Let's take a look at 6. This one does have a reflection. This time, again, like I said before, it's not common, but this one is over the y-axis, okay? So that means it's going to go on the inside. This one here is going to be f of x is equal to negative x. Now it's down 3. So because it's down 3, I end my square root symbol there. Same direction, minus 3. Okay? This one's got everything. I have a reflection over the x-axis. I've got up 6. I've got left 3. So what we're going to have here is y equals reflection over the x-axis. Shifting left 3 means that this is going to be x plus 3 squared up 6. Okay. Same thing. I've got all 3. Reflection over x, right 4, down 2. I've got f of x. I take care of the reflection first. Absolute value. Right 4 means I'm going to put x minus 4 on the inside of those absolute value symbols. Down 2. Okay. Now, let's take a look at what these graphs look like. Same thing here. We're going to graph 7 on this one. We'll graph 8 over here. Same thing like I told you guys. We're going to start with the basic function first. My basic function always looks like this. Now this one's going to reflect over the x-axis, and it's going to shift left 3 and down and up 6. Okay, so up 6, left 3. Let's see here. Let's reflect first. If I reflect, I'm going to look like this. We always take care of reflections first in terms of graphing it, by the way, everyone. Okay, so you're going to see in the next lesson what that means, the reflection itself, but we want to make sure we take care of that one first. Now that I have it reflected, I can shift those to the left 3 and up 6. So 1, 2, 3, up 6, 1, 2, 3, up 6. Let me change the color there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one comes here. Okay. Now this is going to change. My domain, we talked about that yesterday. That's not going to change. That's all real numbers. This will change the symbol. Reflections change the symbol of your range. Normally, where y is greater than or equal to 0, but because of the transformation, okay, because of that transformation, this is going to be y is less than or equal to. If you look, my arrows are pointing down. They're not pointing up anymore. Y is less than or equal to positive 6 because I shifted up 6. Okay, so there's what our picture looks like there. Let's move on to the next one. I've got this absolute values. Same thing, we'll take care of reflecting that first. Okay, and now I'm going to shift it to the right 4 and down 2. So this point that's here is going to go to the right 4, down 2. This point that's here, right 4, down 2, right 4, down 2. There's our absolute value function. The domain, we talked about it. That's not going to change. That's all real numbers. Okay, and our range, well, again, similar to before, a reflection is going to change your range. Normally it's y is greater than or equal to, but because of the reflection, it's now less than or equal to. Okay, what number is that? Shifted down 2, so it's going to be -2 there. Okay, hopefully we're okay with that. The last transformation that we really want to talk about are known as vertical stretches or compressions. Now, if you have a number that's larger than 1, that is known as a vertical stretch. If you have a number that's between 0 and 1, that's known as a vertical compression. Okay, there is a difference. There is something known as a horizontal stretch or compression too. We're not going to cover those until pre-calculus next year. Okay, so this is important. The wording is important though. Okay, so if I look at the function 3x squared, that takes the function x squared and it stretches it by a factor of. Okay, by a factor of. If I take 1/2 the absolute value of x, that took the absolute value of x and it compresses it by a factor of. You must say by a factor of, okay? It is technically wrong if you don't say by a factor of and then whatever the number is. So let's go to practicing some of these. If I took x squared and now it becomes 2x squared, 2 is a number that's larger than 1, so this is going to be a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. Okay, it's a little bit lengthy, but you must say everything. Don't cut steps out, don't skip anything. Vertical stretch by a factor of 2. If I took absolute value of x and it became 1/3 of absolute value of x, this is a vertical compression by a factor of 1/3. Okay, so you must say that by a factor of. Okay. Now, again, same thing like before. I could have multiple transformations. X squared now became 3x minus 4 squared. There's two things that go on. There's a vertical stretch by a factor. There it is again, by a factor of 3. But there's also a shift. It's happening on the inside. So that's the opposite of right 4. Okay, a shift of right 4. Love it. Look at this one. This one has so much going on here. We've got a negative symbol. We've got a coefficient. We've got a negative on the inside, and we've got a positive on the outside. 4 transformations for us. This is like the holy grail of all type of transformation questions for us. Keep in mind, negatives are reflections. Coefficients are stretches or compressions. They are two different transformations. Do not list them as the same thing. You will not say this is a vertical stretch by a factor of -2. This is a reflection over the x-axis. The number is larger than 1, so this is a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. Two separate transformations. Let's get my face out of the way. I have a negative on the inside. That means it is a shift of right 1 unit. And I also have that plus 3 on the outside. That happens in the same direction. That is a shift of up 3. 4 transformations, 1 problem. So much fun. I had a great time. I hope you did too. Let's take a look here. We've got 2 more questions, then we'll call it a day. 4 more questions, then we call it a day. Here's the list. Here's the way that I go. I take care of any reflections. That's the first thing that I do. Then I take care of any stretches. Or compressions. Then I do any left or right shifts. And finally, any up or down shifts. Okay, that's the order that I follow. It does not mean that you have to follow the same order, but that's the order that you're going to see me do things in. So if I'm taking f of x equals x squared, I have a vertical stretch. I have a shift of right 2. No reflection, so I can skip it. What I'm going to have here is that f of x, like I said, no reflection, so I skip it. It is a stretch by a factor of 3 to the right 2 units, means I go on the inside of parentheses and I take the opposite sign. So right is going to be minus 2, then I square it. Don't forget to put the squared symbol. They have squared up here, so I need to make sure I put that still. Okay. No reflection, but I do have both types of shifts, and I do have a vertical compression on this one. So we're going to take care of that vertical compression first. It is a factor of 1/4, so I take care of that. Now I'm going to take care of any left or right shifts. I have left 1, so that's going to be x plus 1 on the inside. Now on the outside, I'm going to do that minus 2 for shifting down 2. Remember, up, down go in the same direction. Left, right go in the opposite directions. Question 7 over here. I've got a little bit of everything. I've got a vertical stretch, an up, a shift up, a shift left, a reflection. Perfect. So much going on here. I'm going to take care of this reflection first. So I did this one. Now I'm going to take care of the vertical stretch. I did this one. I want to take care of the shifting left 3 business. So that's going to be x plus 3 on the inside of parentheses. And then don't forget your squared symbol. Again, there's a squared symbol here, which means we need our squared symbol. Okay. Up 6 means positive 6 on the outside. I've taken care of everything. That's a typical question of something you could see. So I hope you guys know how to do that one. Remember, rewatch this if you need. Take a look at that again. Last question, same type of thing. I want you guys to try this one by yourselves. I'm going to do it quietly here, and then I'll say goodbye to everyone. So I got -1/2, absolute value of x minus 4 minus 2. The cool thing about these questions here, you can always check yourselves, guys and girls. Once you write a function, see if you get the same things. I think a lot of us are comfortable with reading a function and listing the transformations, maybe not so much with writing our own. So if you need, write one and then see if you get the same thing that's given to you. But hopefully this lesson helped you. Like I said, the best way to learn is by being in class. So make sure you're there. I'll see you guys all soon. Bye, everyone.